What is up, Los Angeles, and welcome back to your Rams LAFB show. I am your host, Ryan Anderson, joined today by Erin Coscarelli, talking about day 2 of free agency. A little less exciting than day 1, but we wanted to go into all of the Rams' opponents and contenders they might face in the playoffs or perhaps the Super Bowl and see where they stand currently after a couple of days of free agency. What kind of improvements have they made? Is the NFC West still one of the best conferences out there? Did you coming into today? I mean, were there any things that you noticed from around the league that caught your eye? We kind of talked a little bit of Max Crosby, who the Rams don't play.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the Mike Evans deal is always very interesting. Kenneth Walker walking from the Seattle Seahawks. I think the thing that's really interesting about this show today is where do these moves that the Rams are making stack up against other teams, and how much does it motivate other teams? One of the things that was always really interesting is the fact that the Rams don't go to the combine. And then after the Rams I think it's been since 2017 was the last time McVay was actually on site at the combine. And it makes a lot of sense. If you think about it, they're like, hey, we evaluate game tape. We don't need to see a guy run out a fast 40. We're good. We feel better. We'll send people on site, but we'll really do our magic here on home base. And then, since then, there are teams that take note and also kind of feel similarly. Jaguars, following suit being one of them. But the Rams making really interesting moves. And my curiosity is I think this is a great episode because what does that say? And what are other teams doing to stack up? I mean, the Rams essentially cleaned house for the Chiefs. They took they're taking their entire secondary inventory. They're like, we're taking it over here. And it makes sense. We've talked about it. Jay Glazer, who was with McVay over the last weekend, not this weekend, but he basically said, McVay said he's not surprised. He's surprised more teams don't invest more in free agency because essentially what you're gonna get. Now, the other thing that was interesting, I got a text from Deb Whitkiss, who also covers the team. She's like, oh, are you hearing about this Tyreek Hill news? I'm like, there is 0.0% chance Tyreek Hill is coming to the Rams, willing to bet the farm. And now, while he sounds attractive, it sounds appealing, he's not a culture fit. So I think it's just interesting with what we're seeing from the Rams, what you mentioned yesterday on our other episode about Jimmy Lake and his relationships and his relationship with the various new guys on the team. It just feels like the Rams kind of know what they're doing. Mike Evans, though, was very interesting to me, which is, again, why it's important to invest in the secondary. And when I think about these moves, I really just look at I stay within the division. But there were some interesting moves. What stood out to you the most?
Yeah, I mean, Steve Weiss was talking about it on the NFL Daily with Greg Rosenthal podcast. The NFC West is kind of an arms race right now. You see what the Rams doing, building their secondary very similarly to the style in Seattle. Getting Trent McDuffie, kind of your Devin Witherspoon inside outside guy. Steve Weiss compared Nick Emmanwori and Quentin Lake to each other, and then Cam Curl as well, which we didn't talk about a lot yesterday, but what he brings, kind of in the Seattle Seahawks role. And then, obviously the 49ers needed more receiver help, but going out and getting that guy specifically, a guy with a ton of experience, a little bit older, and apparently the reports are coming out that Mike Evans looked at Devontae Adams and he was like, I want that. I want to get on a Rams-like team. And obviously there's plenty of contentious feelings between the red and blue of the California coastline. But yeah.
And also what it says about the Bucs, he's like, yeah, this future's not going to work out any longer. We're going to move on to greener pastures. And, yeah,
but let's just get into this. Let's first talk about the schedule. So you got the NFC West, of course, Cardinals, 49ers, and Seahawks. They're also playing the NFC East, Dallas Cowboys, Giants, Eagles, Commanders. They play the NFC or AFC West, Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos, and Raiders. And then their other conference opponents are the Green Bay Packers and those Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And they also play the Buffalo Bills. So we're not going to cover all of those teams, but we'll touch on just about all of them. But we won't go into a ton of depth on those. And then I included a couple of contenders, just keep your eye out for them. Baltimore Ravens, Detroit Lions, and the Bears I put on there as well. And I got all of my contenders that I pulled were from FanDuel. Rams LAFB, brought to you by FanDuel Sports. And one of my big takeaways is from that list, the Rams play 9 games against top 10 opponents on the FanDuel list. So it goes as follows: the Rams, they play the Seahawks twice. Then they'll play the Bills, who are 4th, the Packers, who are 5th, the Chargers, who are 6th, the Chiefs, who are 7th, the Eagles, who are 9th, and the 49ers, who are 10th.
But they get the Raiders.
Yep.
They get the Giants.
They get the Cardinals twice.
Yeah. But you're right. I'm picking up what you're putting down. That's also part of why free agency has been so aggressive, because a lot of these teams are scary teams. And I think in order for them to really, what was interesting about last year, Ryan, for the first time in 2 years, or was it 3 years, at the bye, they were ahead of the curve. Remember, they were in such a behind position where they were needing to gain so much traction and I think they were like 1-4 at the bye before they ended up beating the Vikings and then kind of going a bit on a tear. But then that puts you in such a behind position. I think if they can capitalize on what we've seen, which is the momentum, and really get into a nice advantage where you're even just like how you're attacking the free agency market. Don't go in desperate and needing to fill a void. Go in with the advantage of going like, we're going to take care of business. We're going to be in the present, as McVay always says, So it's interesting. They have a lot of competitive teams that are playing this season.
Yeah, 100%. Let's start with the NFC West, because that represents 6 games of the 17 game schedule. So just at the top, alphabetically, the Arizona Cardinals added Gardner Minshew, Tyler Algier, Kendrick Bourne, guard Isaac Seumalo, Roy Lopez, defensive tackle and defensive lineman L.J. Collier. They've got plenty of cap space still, 36,000. Did not add Jimmy Garoppolo, who was Mike LaFleur's guy for sure. Jordan Rodriguez said on that NFL Daily Show that Jimmy Garoppolo really likes being the backup quarterback in Los Angeles. And listen, that guy made a ton of money already after several contracts as a starter. Maybe he's just content to be the backup for now, which is fine, I guess. The Gardner Minshew news is obviously the big one there. 1 year, $5.7 million. They seem content to be pretty bad again this year. I think Tyler Algier is a good signing. I think all of these are good signings, all moving in the right direction. But this points to me that they have a really firm understanding of just where they stand. Anything else on the Cardinals?
I don't know. Nothing really exciting to me. When you say Gardner Minshew is I don't know,
Yeah.
This one, I can't figure this one out. This is a team that really needs to turn things around. It's not just the talent, it's the culture inside the building. They get Mike LaFleur there. Why Mike LaFleur would leave was one of the things we kind of talked about.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I have a lot to add on this one.
There's not.
Although
Well,
I'm glad that the Rams get to face them twice a year. So.
yeah, and I think they're not tanking. I wouldn't say. They're bringing in a bridge quarterback who's won some games. Gardner Minshew has been exciting. He can whip the ball down the field for sure. And they've got pieces. They've got pieces there. But I think they're setting themselves up to have a nice draft, which is supposed to be a better quarterback draft next year. Moving along to the San Francisco 49ers, we already talked about Mike Evans. They added a tackle, Vidarian Lowe, and so locked in their kicker position. They still have $34 million in cap space to work with. They were in on John Franklin Myers before he got picked up by the Titans, who have their former defensive coordinator as the head coach. This is an interesting team that's straddling two eras. Kittle's old, Trent Williams is old, Christian McCaffrey is getting up there for sure. But they've got, Brock Purdy's still young, still a playoff team. So,
yeah.
And top 10 to make the Super Bowl, according to FanDuel. So, it's tough to know exactly where they're going and how good they feel about what they have on the roster. Getting healthy too is another thing. Drafted a bunch along the defensive line. Nick Bosa, talking about Mike Evans, he's been injured. He's 33 years old. They haven't had, really great wide receivers there. So, and he's somebody was talking about him in relationship to Julio Jones, who was in Shanahan's offense, obviously, and was, he's a Hall of Famer. So I don't know, all that to be said, as I'm still confused by this team, but Shanahan has a way with a healthy quarterback. He has a way of putting himself in a good position. So always a team to look out for.
And let's not forget, the Rams kick off the season on Wednesday. Yeah. Okay. In Melbourne, Australia, against this team. And one of the things that's really interesting, I can't remember who it was it was someone at NFL, my former NFL network colleague who runs the international NFL series and marketing for them. And I'm like, oh, wow, this is crazy. Like, how are they going to make it work traveling down to Australia? It's a 17-hour time difference, 14-hour flight. And, you're not going to you're going to have a little jet lag. So you're going to come back whatever day you end up coming back. I guess it's like the day right after. And then you kind of have, you have a little bit of time to prep and reset. But one of the things that my friend from NFL Network, who used to work with me at NFL Network, said, the team that always ends up losing these sort of like travel exhibition games always thinks it's like a terrible idea. And then the team that wins is like, this was amazing. This was great. Like, what a great thing for the league. So it's funny because this is going to be, an experiment for the NFL, traveling so far, such a different time zone, and then trying to recalibrate. It does put you at a disadvantage when you do these international exhibition games, if you will.
Well, and the good news is it is week 1. So is Maui camp this year Melbourne camp? Are they going to head out there for an extended amount of time to kind of prep for it,
right,
and get themselves settled in, or do what they did when they went to Britain, where they just landed, got off the plane, played the game, got back on the plane, and went home? That'll be fun to see. Seattle Seahawks, interesting, $43 million in cap space, still have a ton of room. Added Rashid Shaheed back to the roster, which was an interesting move. He wasn't used a ton in the offense, but when he was used, it was impressive. And obviously special teams, keeping Josh Jobe around, who was kind of a guy that rose up, but they also lost Boye Mafe, Kenneth Walker, and Kobe Bryant. So, obviously not foundational pieces, but the big question is, can Sam Darnold put together 2 back-to-back years, be consistent? Do they need to add more offensive weapons for him? He's very dependent on the people around him. And they've got great pieces. The big question there is, in relationship to the Rams, is JSN or Puka, who gets a contract first. It behooves the first one because it's going to push the market even more. But obviously, FanDuel likes the Seahawks odds to go back to the Super Bowl, put them in second place right now, or tied technically with the Rams. So
I thought you said, okay, wait, where are the Niners? Are they?
They're number 10.
Oh, they're number 10. Who's in the 3 spot?
The 3rd spot is occupied by the Baltimore Ravens.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the Bills.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right.
AFC West. Obviously, Kansas City Chiefs. They're going to get Patrick Mahomes back. Lots of questions around this team. They add Kenneth Walker, just talking about him. Travis Kelce's coming back. Tyquan Thornton, speedy receiver. Kairis Tonga, defensive tackle. Alohi Gilman, who I like for the Rams, and they locked up a long snapper as well. Eric Bieniemy is back with the team. He is a run game specialist. Getting Kenneth Walker involved in there obviously is the big talking point. Chiefs with 21 million in cap space, just ahead of the Rams, who are sitting at 20 million. This is all according to over the cap, which this time of year things are moving quickly. So as of when I made these notes, I mean, the AFC West is pretty stacked. I think we just keep going and talk about the Chargers. They had Alec Ingold, who is an actual fullback, replacing Scott Matlock, who was a converted defensive tackle. And he was in there with Mike McDaniel. Added a tight end, Charlie Kolar. 2 offensive linemen, Tyler Biadasz, Cole Strange, bringing Khalil Mack back for a year. This is a team I'm pretty worried about. The Chargers. Justin Herbert.
I was gonna say, like, I thought you were worried, like they were not gonna. You're worried competitively wise. Yeah. Okay, I was like, yeah, I'm. Mike McDaniels is now the OC. We get to see him with paired up with Jim Harbaugh. Those pressers are going to be good. And yeah, this team is hungry. They're angry. They're motivated.
Great point. Yeah, I bet Mike McDaniel's got a few things to prove. I think Jim Harbaugh still wants a few things to prove. Justin Herbert too. Where's his head at? I mean, he's getting ragged on left and right about not being able to win a playoff game. A lot of people pointing fingers as the reason they've lost the playoff games, which statistically it's hard to get away from that.
Yeah. Yeah, so, no, this is going to be a good division, right? Like then you got the Broncos. I mean,
yeah, the Broncos are an interesting one. They didn't fall in the top 10, even though they were in the championship game. They haven't done much in free agency, but this isn't a team that needed a ton of pieces. I think they needed weapons, which, I mean, that's kind of the big thing that they haven't addressed yet. They have $23.5 million in cap space. Re-signed J.K. Dobbins, Alex Singleton, linebacker Justin Cernat, who I wanted the Rams to pick up. They signed him for a 3-year, $19.5 million, and a tight end for 3 years. So, I mean, I think they just need to get more weapons for, Sean Payton and Bo Nix to play around with. Some wide receivers, some skill position players, because they got so much else there. I'm frankly a little surprised. And FanDuel did not have them in the top 10, which is just like,
yeah.
I think they might be underrating, and they've lost some pieces. Like I said, John Franklin Myers is now with the Titans, so
I feel like they were one broken ankle away from really making that team,
and playing in bad weather too,
and playing in bad weather. Again, another team that's angry, hungry, and motivated. Okay, we're good. But then you have the Raiders, so we're fine. The Raiders,
they did a lot of work.
Had some drops. They're always trying to fit things and make things work, and they're they're also hungry, motivated, and angry. But the difference is now they have some draft stock and they have some capital there. And with Max Crosby leaving, there's some opportunity that they can make some moves in the draft and try. The problem is being in that division is just it's different. It's just the division. Like they just have to play better.
Yeah.
But some of these guys I think are good additions. We'll see how they navigate that with the draft, but they just have to be more competitive in the AFC West. So.
Well, they move on from Geno Smith, traded him back to the Jets. He's now a Jet again. I mean, oof. But they are odds-on favorite per FanDuel Sports. Fernando Mendoza is going to be the number one pick. They got the number one pick. That's what everybody's assuming that they're going to do, setting themselves up for the future, obviously, at that position. What I like about their free agency class is that despite Clint Kubiak being the head coach, they focused on defense a ton. Obviously, you lose Max Crosby, your superstar, but, adding Kwity Paye, two linebackers, Nakobe Dean and Quay Walker, a couple of cornerbacks, bringing back Eric Stokes, Taron Johnson, acquired through a trade. And then you got Matt Gay kicking field goals for him. Can't really argue with that. So, and they still have $63 million in cap space. So I think the future is bright, but this should be a W for the Rams on the schedule. Should doing a lot of work in that. Let's jump to the NFC East. I don't know what to make of the Dallas Cowboys. They get rid of Micah. Why am I forgetting his name now?
Parsons.
Micah Parsons.
Jeez,
I kept wanting to say Micah.
You almost made. I'm like, okay, yeah.
And then they add Rashawn Gary and trade with the Jets last year and trying to rebuild the defense. Franchise tag George Pickens, Javonte Williams. Okay, these guys are not towards the top. They're over the cap currently by $4 million. So it'll be interesting. Always a good drafting team. So let's just move to the Giants. I don't know. You have anything on
They're just my friend Jane covers the team. They were active more so than they normally are. Yeah. But yeah, I want to say I think that
nobody does selling better than Shopify. Shopify is the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret with Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts go abandoned and way more sales going through. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. On the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more, sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout that Skims uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period for 3 months at shopify.com/Westwood1, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Westwood1.
It might be a W for the Rams per se. Don't want to go crazy, but looks like it's favorable.
Yeah. Giants still have a quarterback, Jackson Dart, new head coach, which is the big news there with John Harbaugh. Harbaugh brings with him Isaiah Likely, added him on a 3-year contract. Greg Newsome, okay, that's good. Great cornerback. Jermaine Edmonds. This is going to be interesting team to watch what their ceiling is. I don't think they're contender. Let's move on to the Eagles. I don't want to talk about the Giants.
There's nothing exciting. I mean, like the Eagles are a contender, right? The Eagles give the Rams fits. And the thing that I liked about what the Rams did in the secondary, which is what we talked about, I think adding with, right? Adding guys that can take down runners. And whenever I think about adding to that run defense, I think about like going up against Saquon Barkley. Although I want to say it was week 3, they largely contained him, but then they had trouble with other guys.
Bijan Robinson.
Yeah, Bijan Robinson. There were just other guys that just really kind of ripped into the Rams, run defense. And when I think of the Eagles, I have PTSD. I'm like, okay, can we make sure this doesn't happen again?
Well, and they have not been active. They locked up Jordan Davis on a 3-year extension. I think they extended Jahan Dotson as well. They're talking, there's lots of smoke around AJ Brown moving. No movement so far on that one, but seems like that's something they're actively looking at. Obviously contender. The big question is from the coordinator's side, have they improved enough to kind of get their quarterback Jalen Hurts back to where they need him to be? And it seems like they go year on, year off with that guy, and they've been rotating through guys. So we talk about how smart McVay is about bringing in coaching staff. This has proved to be a little bit of their kryptonite.
Good point.
So, but apparently they feel pretty good about where they are based on the moves they did not make. Washington Commanders, that's another one that I'm really curious how they are going to adjust. Obviously last year, Jaden Daniels was hurt a ton. They add Odafe Owe, extend Laramie Tunsil. That's a good move. I think Tim Settle is a nice addition for the defensive line. Add Amik Robinson, and backup quarterback Marcus Mariota will be back with the team. I think that's smart as well, based on what we saw happen to Jaden Daniels. But they have about $80 million in cap space to work with. So I'm surprised that they weren't more active. And I wonder if they were feeling kind of the sting of winning the offseason last year or the year before. I can't remember where they brought in Deebo Samuel. They got Laramie Tunsil. That was a couple years ago, but just another intriguing one. I have no
It's a lot.
No assessment on this team. Yeah.
It's a lot of money. Okay. Yeah. Anyways.
Yep. So
Bills, not so much cap space.
currently over the cap, 13 mil. Strange additions. I don't know. How do you feel about the Bills?
I think the Bills, they have to look for
change.
Yeah, they have to, honestly, like, to me, I think it's not an identity situation, but when you have a window, I feel like that the Bills are feeling the pressure to win under, and anything short of a Super Bowl appearance, coaching changes, free agent changes, I think you have to capitalize on Josh Allen, his talent, that division. I don't know. I always get worried about the Bills. The Bills always scare me when Josh Allen is the quarterback.
Yeah. I mean, that's the X factor there. I mean, the big piece they added was DJ Moore, who, we all saw that game. We've seen several games where he wasn't giving his level best, I wouldn't say. So, I mean, you got to feel bad for Josh Allen. It's not, he needs more weapons as well. Like I was talking about with Bo Nix. So they were up there in that conversation of contenders. FanDuel has them number 4. I think that is very generous.
They have them at 4?
They're the 4th highest odds for the Super Bowl. Yeah. All the way down past the Denver Broncos is the Chicago Bears. And it's like,
I can see the Chicago Bears. You don't see the Chicago Bears there?
No, they're way down. They're like 16th or so, plus 2,500. So that's a sneaky good one to put some money down on.
Yeah.
That. Let's just jump to the Bears and talk. Well, let's talk about the final 2 actual matches that they're going up. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, $15.7 million in cap. Add Kenneth Gainwell, keep Kate Otten, add Alex Anzalone, lose Mike Evans, as we talked about. You know, I don't think Baker Mayfield was terribly healthy all season. They're feeling the brain drain. They lost Liam Cohen. They lost Dave Canales. You know, it's, to me, it looks like the Saints are going to be the ones that take that division after free agency. You know, Chris Godwin's still good. You know, they got great pieces along the offensive and defensive line. But replacing Mike Evans is no small feat for sure. And none of these pieces are like made them significantly better. So,
well, and that's probably echoing Mike Evans' sentiment, which is like, yeah, deuces, I'm out of here. I'm going to go to an actual contender and try to make things work with the Niners. You know, the Niners always have some injury situation, at least the last 2 seasons. So, yeah. So no on the Bucs. That's going to be probably going to be a W for the Rams.
Now the Green Bay Packers currently by FanDuel sitting in the 5th position plus 1,500. Add offensive lineman Sean Ryan, Zaire Franklin, acquired via trade, and then Benjamin St. Juste. They are also feeling pretty good about where they are based on these moves. I mean, Micah Parsons coming back, hopefully fully healthy. This was a team that I had circled for the Rams as a potential shocker in the playoffs, that if they went up against the Green Bay Packers, it was going to be a tough.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Based on the amount of receivers that they have, the way they integrate their run game and their passing game and their tight ends and whatnot. But now with these cornerbacks, I feel a lot better about going up against that. So yeah, this is another one I'm curious as to how they rebound, and what they've done so far doesn't point me in either direction. Like nothing's really changed for me on that.
We're like, okay, they're going to be the same.
Yeah.
They're going to be competitive.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's going to be, you know, is it going to be a tough division? You know, you know, let's get to the Bears. They've done a ton of stuff. They've done a ton of stuff.
Wait, where are the Bears on this? Oh, I guess
all the way down there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So added Khalif Raymond, added Case Keenum.
Oh yeah.
Because they're probably going to trade Tyler Bagent, who's been their backup. He was an undrafted free agent out of the University of Shepherd. I've liked that guy for years. I want the Rams to trade for him to be their backup, but that doesn't seem like it's happening. They added Khalif Raymond, re-signed Braxton Jones, offensive tackle, added Garrett Bradbury, added Neville Gallimore, a nice depth piece for the defensive line, a couple of linebackers, Devin Bush and DeMarco Jackson, and then stealing Kobe Bryant, safety from Seattle Seahawks. You know, I don't think there's any like huge needle movers. They needed to improve on the offensive line still, so that's a nice pickup for of Garrett Bradbury. Yeah, I mean, they were good. I don't think they got any worse.
Yeah. Well, where are they with their cap situation?
Oh,
it's not on here.
No, it's not.
That's okay. That's okay. That wasn't meant to be a trick question. Either way, yes, they added reinforcements. And look, what you said, whether it was yesterday or the day before, when I had asked, what does this mean? All of the defensive backs that are still on the team for the Rams, you're like, depth. There's depth there. And to be available down the stretch in terms of injuries was one of the reasons why the Rams were so successful. Obviously, they had issues with Dotson and Devontae and a couple other guys. Obviously, Q-Lake missed just a little bit of time. But largely, the Rams were fairly healthy. So adding depth and additional support when your team is already good, 2 thumbs up, guys. I think the Chicago Bears are going to be a very good team for years to come. I mean, we saw it in the 4th quarter with a launched slinger by one Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
That was crazy. So I'm worried about the Bears.
And Ben Johnson has proved that he
And
is
Ben
not
Johnson.
he's not just an offensive mind. He is a head coach in the
Yeah.
vein of a Sean McVay kind of
Yeah.
style of guy. So as long as those two guys are in the league, I think they're going to be battling it out.
Yeah.
And they've got the most important position in football locked in already with Caleb Williams.
So let me ask you this then, because I know we're like wrapping things up.
Yeah.
When you are, like you said, this is going to be a really good question. You ready for it?
Mm-hmm.
When you know you have these other guys kind of nipping at your heels, right? Everybody wants to be a little bit like a young Sean McVay. You've got the Ben Johnsons, you've got the Mike LaFleurs, the Matt LaFleurs, the Liam Cohens, all those guys. If you're McVay, how are you outsmarting people at this point?
Mm-hmm.
When people are trying to essentially like be you, where's your edge?
Yeah. I mean, I think what I was saying about the coaching staff, I think having a guy like Les Snead, who doesn't get tied into, his own cognitive biases, his own ways of thinking. He adjusts and switches.
So true.
He goes from F them picks to collecting those picks to back to F them picks a bit.
Yeah.
He's
but
not.
You're saying that's a collaborative effort. You're saying that's not all Les. That's like, hey, what's best for the team?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Yeah. I think they work really, really well together. And yeah, I mean, what are the edges that they have? I mean, I think that they have successfully, found over the years different, what do they call them? Market inefficiencies, basically. So like when everybody was talking about left tackles, what did they do? They bolstered the middle of their offensive line, and they have fairly inexpensive tackles. That's one thing. How they approached the draft, getting Jared Verse and Braden Fisk. There's all these little market inefficiencies where, like, let's say they could have, they're like, Aaron Donald's leaving. We got to get another superstar on the defensive line. Let's go out and trade for whomever is the shiniest object out there. They said, no, let's get them on a cheap contract because those guys are super expensive. So I don't know if I answered your question, but there's so many multiple ways of doing it. And now they're facing their biggest challenge yet: how to replace Matthew Stafford.
Yeah. It's like a Marvel's movie. We're like, oh my God, how can the sequel be any better than the first one? Like, what's the villain gonna? I mean, now the villain's got like, it's like a crazy, like, black hole that shoots out fire. Think about those villains that they like every time, every year. Honestly, that's how I felt last season was. I'm like, okay, guys, now this game is even more important than the last one. I mean, we kept saying it week in and week out. We were like, okay, then they went, then they went from the Panthers. Then they had to go duke it out in Soldier Field where it's cold AF. And then once they finish that, I mean, that's what's amazing about football. It's like a real life Marvel movie. Do you watch Marvel movies? Yeah, you do. Just say it.
I've watched some of them. Yeah. Yeah.
You're more of a DC guy.
I'm just not a big superhero. Like fight scenes, like I actually get really bored during fight scenes. That's when I'll like scroll through my phone because I'm like, this is nothing.
You're not buying it.
I like that Florence Pugh though, who was in one of the ones that was recent. Which one?
Yeah,
was that in?
She's cute. I don't know, actually. I don't really watch them anymore. I actually don't really watch movies anymore. I know.
I'm getting back into it, but But so you make a great point, and that's what I wanted to make at the top of this, facing the 49ers, the Seahawks, the Eagles, the Chiefs, the Chargers, the Packers, the Bills. All of these teams are potentially teams they're going to have to face 2 or potentially 3 times in the playoffs. These are so,
and not real fun places to go play. Let's be honest. So yeah, hostile or cold or just whatever. So
the last contender we didn't really touch on was the Detroit Lions. Then they haven't made a lot of moves, and they are number 7 on FanDuel's Super Bowl betting odds. I don't know if they got better. I don't know if they got good enough, and that's why I was so confused about where the Packers were going to be, where the Vikings going to end up. That the Detroit Lions may have missed their Super Bowl window, and what they've done so far doesn't change a lot. Their offensive line is really falling apart, and Jared Goff needs, as we know, a good offensive line to look good.
Do you think that the Vikings are like, wow, we let a good one go? You know how in dating,
Darnold?
They're like, oh man, I didn't appreciate her or him.
They had
and
2.
Now, what?
They had 2 quarterbacks. They had, I'm blanking on his name too. Colts quarterback. I want to played for the Daniel Jones. Gosh.
Oh, Daniel Jones. Yeah, that's true too. Yeah.
They had Daniel Jones and Sam Darnold in their room, and they didn't resign either one. Let both of them walk, and now they're sitting there with JJ McCarthy and their thumbs up their noses.
I mean, it's true, guys. Like, do you guys get like grass is greener on the other side? And Devontae talked about that this season. He's like, hey, the grass is not greener. Like, just, although for him it was, I guess, because he came over here, sunny California, and things have been nice and green. But yeah, I wonder if they see if it gets real awkward with Darnold.
Let's hope so. Well, I think that is all we've got for today's episode of the Rams LAFB show, brought to you by FanDuel. Go check them out over there, FanDuel Sportsbook. Plenty to bet on right now. World Baseball Classic, they've got odds up on that. That's a lot of fun. NBA and NHL still going along strong. F1 is back. I had such a good and bad time watching the first race as Ferrari had it in their Italian mitts and let it slip away with a bad decision. With a virtual safety car. They didn't pit. Anyway.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You're into F1.
Yeah.
I feel like it's becoming a thing. It's really getting its flowers.
It's just so much fun to pay attention to when you have to watch football the way I do, which is not as a hobbyist. Like, right. You gotta be locked in. Having a little hobby on the side that's not related.
It's enjoyable.
Nobody in F1 cares anything about the NFL and vice versa. So it's perfect for me. So
safe.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this was really fun. I liked that we did this FanDuel thing. Yeah, I had a good time. Thank you for doing this with me.
Always aiming to please. And thank you guys for tuning in. We're growing the show. It's continuing to get new viewers, and keep commenting, liking. Go check out what Erin does over on Instagram and Twitter. And she's Erin Coscarelli over there. And be nice. Don't get yourself blocked. I got guy in my comments talking about how you blocked him on Instagram. It's probably for a reason.
Hysterical. Sorry, guy.
Until next time, guys. We'll be back tomorrow talking the rest of free agency. We'll see if the Rams make any more moves, and if they don't, we'll talk about what they missed out on. And we'll see you then.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.